not charging you whether for vetting work or for anything on this particular platform. If you are watching on YouTube, I'm so sorry we've had some bits of issues with vetting work on the YouTube platform because I'm working currently and it's been really tasking, so I'm not able to do that. But I have encouraged and advised us that we should come to the Telegram group, do your writing on the Telegram group, and I'll eventually get to see what you have written. And then there are a couple of other people on the Telegram group there as well that are helping out. So if you come to the Telegram group with your work, you should be able to get help. All right? Remember the rules. Remember to have your videos on. If not, you'll be automatically taken out of the class. You have your videos on, you have your mic muted, and then we are good to go. We've been discussing writing task 1. And by God's grace, we've done a couple of the question types that you will find in writing task 1. Tonight, we will be doing a different one entirely. In fact, we're rounding up with writing task 1 tonight. Hopefully, that's if you understand. Of course, if you don't, we can't move forward and we may have to come back to it. Remember that in writing task 1, you are expected to write in an academic style, present your words in your own language. You don't have to copy the examiner or the question prompt. Make use of synonyms and all of that to express yourself. You are expected to finish task 1 in 20 minutes and to write not less than 150 words. I've advised us to write not less than 160 and not more than 170, 175 maximum. This is because when you write too few, sometimes you are not able to express yourself, well like you should. And when you write too many words, errors are always present in them. And with all the writing tasks that we have been doing, we said that you need to know the specific vocabulary, specific things, that are related to those tasks so that with not too many words, you are able to express yourself and you are able to write in a way that your examiner will understand that you do really understand or you know what you are doing. Writing task 1 expects you to write no less than 150 words. And then we have talked about the structure of the writing task 1. I keep going over this every class because we need to apply it in the course of the class as our manner is. We will be doing classworks that will show us what exactly we are talking about. If you are here for the first time, I'm seeing some new faces and I don't know what's happening to the old faces. I hope they'll come on time to benefit from this particular class tonight. Tonight, we'll be talking about floor maps, maps, and if we are able to round up with that, we'll be doing something else, that's tables. And that will bring us to the end of the writing task 1. A floor map is designed to test your ability to compare information given in form of a plan or a map. It requires you to use certain language, like I said, vocabularies, in describing according to whatever it is, maybe the location or maybe changes that has occurred as shown in the map or in the floor plan that you have. Floor maps and plans, floor maps and maps, the general maps that we know, they are very similar. And so you hear me talking about using them interchangeably. But at the end of the day, I'll tell you the only difference that is between them. When you are describing a map, it is more appropriate to use a compass. How many of us know a compass? You remember what a compass is? Not that nursing and medicine has eaten your geography, has swallowed it up. Chemistry and physics have swallowed geography up. So here, UKVI has asked that you should know something about maps again in English language. So bringing geography to English. They just want you to express yourself, to describe something. Because I've seen that in the course of practicing, there are times that you're faced with description to patients, to patient relatives. Now I can easily relate these things to what I teach because I can now see them. You understand what I'm saying? Like a patient to come, a relative comes to you and they are asking, they want to go to another ward that's on a different floor. Now you need to use these specific words, specific vocabulary, things that have to do with the description of that place to that person who is asking you these questions. And so you use a compass. You know the compass where we have north, down, up, north, down, south, east, and west, right? So you will use that if you have to describe something by location. And sometimes we are going to be describing things by the changes that are taking place. You see a map and they are telling you, describe the changes that has occurred over this period of time, maybe from 1960 to 1966. The map of Umweze village in Imo State. And they draw two maps. They give you one in 1960 and they give you another one in 2020. Or they give you one map, but they ask you to do a description according to the changes that you can see. Maybe some things have been moved, some things have been shifted, you know, renovated or somehow. All right. Okay, so yes, we will be doing things like that tonight. But before we go on to do our classwork, like I'm explaining, remember the band descriptors? Okay, they are related here. Remember that I said that we have how many band descriptors? How many band descriptors you can signify by? Okay, thank you very much, sweetie. I hope that your name that is sweetie will not be sweeting my mind like honey. Anyway, so that's just by the way. Yes, there are 4 band descriptors, and we have what? Task completion and response. We have cohesion, coherence and cohesion, and then we have what? Lexical resource, and then what do we have next? Grammatical range and accuracy. Now, these are the criteria on which your band, that's your band score, will be given to you. This is on these specific things that you will be judged. The examiner is going to rate you and grade you to give you that score that you want, or that you need, or that you deserve. Okay? And grammatical range and accuracy happens to be the major challenge that we have from the side or the part of Africa where we come from. Many of us have problems with English language, and that is because of our own first language. You know, English is not our first language, and so when we write our sentences, most of the times it is not grammatically correct and it does not make sense. And if this happens, your score, your band will be low. Imagine that you are to be scored over 10, for instance, and you already fail out on 2.5. Now you have 7.5 to struggle with, and the NMC wants you to have a 7.0. Where do you stand at this point? Okay, so you need to improve on your spoken grammar because it's going to count for you also in your speaking test and in your writing test as well. Now, the grammatical range and accuracy is something that you can easily do for yourself if you listen or watch movies, you listen to like news, BBC, you listen to plays, like all this drama that they do and all that. It will help you to improve your spoken English because you hear them, as well as you're listening as well, because you are going to understand their accent better. They are not speaking Awana Ghana like they do in America. Here is different, okay? And sometimes because the Scottish accent is also different, if you happen to be tested by a listening that was done by people in Scotland, you need help. You need the help of God. So you need to practice these things. I told us where to go to on YouTube. Go to IELTS Zone and do your listening there. We're not talking about listening tonight. But just trying to tell you that these band descriptors are used for your speaking and your writing. Now, Grammatical range and accuracy, which happens to be where we usually score very low from feedback, happens to be something that we can improve on our own. All right. Then we talk about coherence and cohesion. Your ability to do what? To speak, to write in a manner that it can flow, where there is a progression, all right, between your work, and you're moving from point A to point B to point C to D, and you go up to Z. Not that you have come from point A, now you have landed on Z, then you are coming back to M, and you are just in between rigmaroling. It's not going to help you. Okay, so grammatical range and accuracy, coherence and cohesion. Then that's cohesion. Then coherence is your ability to write in a way that can be easily understood by your examiner without him or her having to, bang their head on what is she even trying to say. If you are not lucky, you may get a low band even when you're making sense if you start on the wrong note. Okay? Talking about lexical resource, we discussed about that, and we said that you need to arrange your words, your vocabularies, okay? You need to arrange your vocabularies. And that is that for those band descriptors, where you have your sentencing and all that. You need to avoid repetition of words. You need to know where your punctuations come in, and that will really help you in the structure of the writing task. You know that we have different structures for writing task 1 and writing task 2. In writing task 1, you are expected to have how many paragraphs? 3 as the structure. And then writing task 2, you are expected to have 4 as the number of paragraphs for your structure. Now, in writing task 1, I'm discussing the structure of the writing task 1 before we go into discussing our floor maps and our map in full. We have the introduction and the overview. The introduction is made up of 2 things, and we keep saying this every day, so you should always remember that. Is your paraphrase statement and your overall statement. A paraphrase is a rephrase, okay? You using synonyms, other words that can express that same thing that the examiner or that whatever your question prompt is, in a way that you have not used their own words, but you have used other words, synonyms, that has not changed the meaning. There's no change on the meaning of what they have said earlier on. For instance, they ask a question, they say, someone, maybe the question prompt is, Joy left home for work at 7 a.m. but arrived, and is to resume at 7:30, but arrived at 9 o'clock. If I ask for a paraphrase, number 1, you remember I said synonyms, right? There are some words that you don't change, like names of people, names of places, years, dates, you don't change those. But when you have a range of dates, for instance, from year 2010 to year 2020, you can say over a period of 10 years, isn't it? So those are the kind of ranges that you can change. But you can't change the year 2010 or the year 2020. They are still constant. They are constant factors, constant variables. In the same vein, the statement I just made, my name is a constant variable there. You're not going to change it. But 7 a.m. is early. So Joy left for work early, yet arrived late. You have said the statement, you have made meaning from it, for example, but you have not said the same thing that I said earlier on. Do you understand? So you need to know what I can change or what you can change in a statement. And you need to know what you cannot change or what you cannot rephrase. When you make your paraphrase, ensure that it makes meaning, and then you're using the words in the context of that question. Because some synonyms, in the course of practice, we have discovered that some synonyms, they are actually the synonym of the words that you're looking for, but in the sentence that you want to make, they do not match. So in such a case, it cannot be used in that context. You get to see them over time. Then we talk about the overall statement. The overall statement, as part of your introduction, is what you can see and conclude, more like a conclusion at the beginning of your work. Is what you can see by merely looking at the map, the chart, whatever thing that is in front of you, what you can conclude from there. That's your overall statement. Many of us make mistakes by writing overall statement differently in a different paragraph from our introduction. Please, when you write your paraphrase statement, full stop, continue, overall, or generally, on a general note, whatever word you want to use, continue with it. Do not put that in a different paragraph, because if you do, you eventually have 4 paragraphs, which is not the structure for writing task 1. Do you understand? So your overall statement and your paraphrase statement is what makes up your introduction for your writing task 1. Your overview is a second thing in writing task 1. This overview, irrespective of the kind of question that you are going to have 2 paragraphs for your overview. Lucky you if you are given 2 diagrams. That way you pick one diagram for overview 1 and you pick the second paragraph for overview 2, which will now give you an introduction, overview 1, overview 2, giving you your total number of paragraphs as 3, and you have the correct structure. For instance, you have a question where you can't have, there are not 2 paragraphs. There are not 2 diagrams. What do you do? Like we said, when we're writing on process graph and some graphs that are not 2. We said that in that particular question, you get a dividing line. You get a dividing point. That is, you have a start point and a midpoint and an end point. From the start point to the midpoint is where you group your data for your first overview paragraph. Then from the midpoint to the end point is where you group the data for the second overview paragraph. That way, you are able to still come up with 2 paragraphs for your overview with the introduction, giving you how many? 3 of them. That's the structure of the writing task 1. For tonight, our map, we're going to be talking about the floor map. So I said, you need a compass if you are writing about map. You don't need to have a compass in your bag and go to the exam hall with it. On your question paper, if you have been practicing, you will see that where there is a map question, there's always a compass. Is that thing that you see them draw like a cross is always there. All right, in the question. Any questions so far? No question, right? All right, so we continue from there. So you need a compass for your map. Where you do not have a compass, which is not always the case, then you can use top, bottom, left, and right for your description of location. When comparing 2 or more maps or floor maps, contrast phrases are used. You use contrast phrases. What are contrast phrases? Bigger than, half the size of, closer to, further away from, than the other. You understand? When we say bigger than, twice the size of the other, you are talking about 2 things, but there's a phrase in between that tells you the size or the location. When I say further away from, it means that this one I'm talking about now is further away from that thing than the other one. All right? So describing changes that has occurred over time, some specific vocabularies are expected of you to use. And when you have a construction or something that has changed, and maybe something was added over a period of time. For instance, you have a map of Umeze in Imo in 1999 and in 2019. if there have been some things that were added to the one of 1999, you are going to use words like constructed, built, erected. Those are the specific words that they want you to use. There are many of them. They are words of verbs of addition, okay, to show addition. Then the ones that show subtraction, things that were removed, you can say was removed or cut down, okay, or replaced or dismantled, okay. And then for words of modification, when something has experienced a change, where you have things like renovated, changed, converted to, turned into, transformed, or replaced by. But if nothing happens, then it remained what? Unchanged. When you want to structure a map, it is independent on whether it is a double or a single task that we are faced with. Although we must produce 3 paragraphs in all, however, that is contained will vary depending on the type of task that you have been asked. I hope this one is self-explanatory. I've said it before. Now, for the structure of a map, what do? You rephrase the question prompt and write an overall statement. If it is double, yeah, you measure the major differences between these maps, okay, is what you should be talking about in your overall statement. But if it is single, you point out the key differences in the 2 things that are there. If it is single, you point out the key differences, all right, that has taken place. And if it is double, you concentrate on the difference between the 2. Now you need to get a compass. So look for a compass in that question so that you know how to describe by location or by the general look of the map itself. If you are going to be describing location by the map, you remember you are using north, south, east, and west. On the north of this, on the south of this is located that and all of that. We'll get to do a similar question today. And then if you don't find a compass, it is that time that you use, what did I say? Top, bottom, left, right, if you are describing by location. Now, in the body of your map, which is the overview, 2 paragraphs that we're looking for. If it is 2 maps, okay, you discuss 1 map per paragraph. But if it is single, you get a start point and then a midpoint, as I have explained. Make sure you have a separate, you separate between the 2 of them. From the upper part to the lower part, you get a midpoint and let it be your separation, your cut, all right? Your dividing line between that. Look for a dividing point in the map. Identify a logical start point, midpoint, and end point. Then you start your writing. But if it is double, just discuss them, all right? And talk about the changes that has occurred as well. Then you go ahead to write your report. Proofread your work, all right? Do you understand? So you rephrase the task prompt, then your overview. If it's single, you know what to do. If it is double, you know what to do. That's what actually makes the difference in writing about maps, okay? Maps, floor maps, and all of that. Now, if you have a map and there are specific changes, your ability to describe the changes is crucial to answering this question. So the various types of features that you see will be labeled usually, okay? Maybe it's of a building, it will be labeled for you. All you need to do is to work on how to write about the changes that has taken place in the past and in the present. When you have a map of maybe a building where or an area where development has occurred. Sometimes you may be asked to describe your hometown in speaking test. The vocabulary and grammar that we use to describe writing task 1 map is what you are expected to use. And that's why some people, even after speaking so well, they still don't pass the speaking test because there are specific vocabularies that your examiner is on the lookout for. And once you cannot provide that, you stand at a loss. All right. So if you are describing a building, for instance, well, I've said them already. I'm just going over what we have said so that we can go ahead with our task for the day. Demolished, knocked down, when something is removed completely, maybe flattened out, replaced, renovated, built, constructed, reconstructed, developed, extended, expanded. I'm saying this now, you're looking at me. You will need to use them when you start your writing, okay? Expanded, relocated, like when they have moved the place. You see some maps, there was a museum on the northern side, and in this second map, the museum has now moved or has been shifted or relocated to the south. So you are going to be using those words, related. You won't tell me that the position of the museum was changed. What is the need of writing all that long English when you can say the museum was relocated? Yeah? So converted. For instance, you can see a building where there was a museum, but in this second map or on this other one, the museum has now become an office. It's now the office of maybe whatever. In that case, it has been what? Converted. All right. You can see another building. Maybe I'm still using museum as an instance. You see a museum on this side, on one graph, on one map, and there's still a museum on the other side. But you discover that the way the museum looks, maybe in size, maybe in the outer building, the outer look of it, it has been modernized, or the size has increased. All right. So you need to know what word to use to describe what. For instance, maybe the government, for say a sentence or a statement like the government demolished the industrial estate and developed a sport ground. So the government demolished it. Maybe there was something that was there before, they took it out, they cut it down, they knocked it out, they flattened it, and on that same structure, on that same position, they have built something else in this very map that we have. So you need to use those words, okay, because it shows precision. Remember that it is part of what we are doing, okay? And then, for example, you have a map that there are different general changes that has taken place in a map. You should be talking about the dramatic changes that it has witnessed, all right? Maybe if the changes is not dramatic, if it is dramatic when it happened over a short period of time. So those were significant, dramatic, the verbs of changes that has taken place, those adjectives that qualify the kind of change that has occurred, you need to make use of them as well. At the end of the day, if you are able to write so well, you get your score and you go away. Remember, if you are describing by location, to use what? Top, bottom, left, right. And if you have a compass, you're going to be using the north, south, east, and west. Any question? Any question?
Good evening,
So
ma'am.
far, good evening. Lovely.
Well done, ma'am. Yeah, concerning the compass, I want to ask, does it mean that if it is not drawn on the question paper, we shouldn't use the North Pole, the South Pole, and all that? If it is not drawn, okay.
Because if you are not given on the question paper, you don't know where is the south or the west or the east for this question, isn't it? You don't know. So you should go ahead and use top, bottom, left, and right. But if you think you are so good, you can draw an invisible, like, well, I saw a map in my exam, and let me not lie to you, a group of people, a school of thought says that you should leave it, and some says you should not leave it, that you should not use, the top, bottom, whatever, left and right. You know that you are submitting your IELTS question paper, and you know that your question paper and your answer sheets will be together for you. So if you draw an invisible line, like a very faint line with your pencil, all right, and you label it north, south, east, and west, I think you will still be correct, in my opinion. Do you understand? I think that if you are able to give that, you may get your mark. Let me see these people. Does it make sense to anybody? Yes, Chinwe, go ahead.
Okay, good evening, ma.
Good evening.
Hear what you said about if I have two maps, how do I go about the overview?
I thought I said that. Okay, if you have two maps, you should say the difference between the two maps in your overview.
Okay.
I think I said that. Yeah, obviously you didn't get it. Okay, what else? Any other question? Because we will start work now. In the absence of any other question tonight, we will start our task, the classwork. All right, so let me get a question for us. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. If you are watching us on YouTube and this is clear to you, if you find the question and it's clear on your screen, go ahead and write it, send it to the Telegram group. If not, at the end of this class, I'm going to send the question, this map that we'll be discussing in class. I'll send it to the Telegram group where you can have it and you'll be able to practice. I'm sorry, Mary, I just joined the class. Obviously, you came late and I'm not going to go back to everything. So you just join us from where we are now. We're about to start our class task. It's the same structure. So if you follow that structure, you should be able to write something down. Remember that everybody is going to write. We are taking notes. If you are among those that usually don't answer questions or write in class, with time you won't be able to access this class, except to go to YouTube and you listen or watch. We are here because we want to have corrections done, isn't it? So do your writing. Let's see. If you are good, I won't make any comments. If you are not, I'll tell you what to do. And if comments, if we need to do any other training and all that, we will do it from the Telegram group for you. So I'm sharing my screen with you now. It's a map. It's a map of an island. Two maps of an island. One is there before. This map looks like the map I had in my exam. By the way, maps are becoming really, really common in the exams now. A couple of exams that people have written recently, they said they saw maps in them. So you see that it's before and after. And on this map, did you see a compass? There's no compass. There's no compass. So the two maps below show an island before and after the construction of some tourist facilities. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and then compare where relevant. Make comparisons where relevant. Make comparisons where relevant. Okay. Are we ready? We're ready, yeah? So beginning from this one, the one that is before. This kind of map, what do you do? If we divide it into two, then into four, north, south, east, and west. Okay? North, south, east, and west. If that's what we did or we are going to do, then you need to know what to describe when you're talking about the north. and then what to describe when you're talking about the South. Now you need to know what comes in paragraph 1 and in paragraph 2 of your overview. Will you be discussing the changes that has occurred or the things that were erected or built or constructed? I'm using the words that you should I'm waiting to see, because this is about construction. It's about erection of things. It's about building. Okay, and there's no time frame here, so we don't know whether it was a rapid change or a dramatic change or anything like that. But we know that there's a significant change in between, isn't it? So overall, there have been significant changes that has occurred in this map, okay, within the given period. Even though it was not mentioned, of course, it happened over a period of time. Then you can pick one or two things and say, for example, or for instance. So, can I make this thing bolder? Can I make this picture bigger? But we can all see the picture, can't we? Can we all see it? Is it better? It's better, yeah? Okay. You have, so we'll start from 7:44, no, 7:45, and we'll stop at 8:05. Remember, it's 20 minutes. Don't worry, I'm 1 hour behind you, so that's your own 9. All right? Now your time starts now. Give me an introduction. Remember to highlight the key features. Get synonyms for them. All right, these are two. It's a double map. Instead of using two, it's a double map. All right, and it's of an island, showing or indicating the changes that has occurred in some tourist sightseeing facilities, you know. So yes, you need to know what word to use and what. Time yourself. For those of us that are going to be typing, write in your book, write it in your book first of all. Then you can have 2-3 minutes to type. And if you are good with typing directly, that's fine. I understand that for some, when we start typing, our video goes off and we are mistaken for not putting on our video. So if you are in this class now, for instance, there's a way, if your video goes off because you're typing, there's a way it shows. It's different from when you don't even have video at all. For instance, Mary Folorunsho does not have video at all now, and I'm taking her out of this class, and unfortunately she won't be able to join when I take her out. When you start typing, I know how it looks when you start typing. So please, if you're typing and your video is off, I understand that. But that I'm seeing your initials on the screen, it shows that you are not even on video to start with. And if you are taking out, please don't run into my inbox to tell me that, Ma, you took me out. Please. Do you understand? Now you can start your typing. I'll add 1 more minute. So you stop at 8:06. Everything together. Everything together. Don't send introduction before sending first body paragraph, be overview 1 and over 2. Type everything, send it. Remember to write in bracket at the end of your work how many words, okay, and the time that you spent. It is discipline, because this is the way you're going to be writing in your exam hall. So you need to practice to do that. I will be here, but I won't be talking. Let's go. Okay. Just give me 1 minute, everybody. Keep writing, but please take a screen grab of this question because we are going on a 2-3 minutes break. There's something I need to set up. Take a screenshot so you can have something to look at while you write. Okay? Take a screenshot. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, raise your hand. Good. Take a screenshot of the question so that I can go off and come back. Thank you. 1 minute and I'll be off while you continue your writing.